Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to a follow-up, rather, to a rant time. In fact, it is a rant time on its own. Last time I mentioned Legend of Zelda's 3DS Majora's Mask bundle, and I mentioned Amiibos in there, and after that, I actually got a couple people messaging me about if I actually hated these things, if I did not like an Amiibo. Allow me to explain. I think Amiibos are great. I just thought they were overpriced, but it actually got me thinking about some previous rant times that I was gonna do, and now I'll just amalgamate them into one. It's stuff about Amiibos and gimmicks in general in gaming, and gimmicks is an offensive term to use too, because gaming has essentially been about innovation, is the quest to create new gaming experiences, and Amiibos serve as that too. Now, if you don't know what an Amiibo is, it is a figurine that you can buy for about, $10-20. Some go for $100, but that's aftermarket inflation. You can buy them, and they have little NFC chips inside them. Basically, they can store and send and receive data. And so, say you're playing a game like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, you can plug in a personalized Amiibo with a character on it, and you can level that character up through matches, over at your Wii or other Wiis or wherever Wiis, and you can save and keep that character, and it's like your personal little character, what you create. And it's interesting. It definitely is. You can definitely see it in stuff like Disney Infinity and Skylanders, where they do utilize this similar thing. And it goes in two parts of the ways. It's a new gaming type. People do feel a connection to Amiibos, and I definitely can agree with that. It's kind of like having a fucking advanced Tamagotchi, except, you're not constantly feeding it. It's not bitching at you to keep feeding it, or it needs to go to sleep or make babies or something. But, it also serves as a collection tool too. People like collecting shit. I like collecting stuff. So, some people just buy Amiibos for the hell of it because they want the figurine. They don't care if it has NFC. They don't even have the game for it. But as far as what it adds to gameplay, it's interesting because it's not adding anything substantial, to say the least. It's adding something, though. It's being a part of it. It's giving more of a personal connection, if you will. Now, are Amiibos a new concept? No. In fact, they've been done before, like I mentioned, Disney Infinity and Skylanders, and they can still be done with today's tech, too. Except not as personalized. I mean, today's controllers, PS4, Xbox One, and I think even the gamepad for the Wii U, have, data storage capabilities on them. So you can just transfer that NFC data right onto those controllers, take it to a friend's house, and have them, just use that controller and use the data from it to throw into the game. So you can carry that character on regardless, and it's interesting, if you saw this transported into other games, because if you take the idea of an Amiibo, right, which some people would think is a gimmicky gameplay aspect, but say you put it into something like Assassin's Creed, where your character, is stored on your controller, I guess you could say, and they're constantly leveled up. So it's like carrying this, memory card, because that's kind of what an Amiibo is. It's like a locked memory card with a certain save file on it that just keeps getting updated and not updated. And that's what it is, right? It's kind of like having a memory card, so you can still do it with stuff today, but here they took, a personalized figurine idea and made a cutesy sort of concept out of it. Now, do I agree with the low stock or whatever? That's a whole different thing. The idea of an Amiibo, though, it works well, and I definitely like it. That's why stuff like Skylanders and it's two ways why stuff like Skylanders and Disney Infinity sell. It's because they have that, not only the collecting aspect to it, but they do serve as a nice nifty feature to gameplay. On the other hand, though, is it necessary to enjoy those games, without the Amiibo? Skylanders is a different story, but things like Super Smash Bros., you don't need an Amiibo at all. Trust me, I've been playing it without one, and it doesn't add or subtract anything from the gameplay. I think all an Amiibo would do is really, allow you to harness one character. It's just a different kind of way to play the game, but it doesn't really add much to it, and that's what I like. You're not forced to go out and buy these $20 figurines to enjoy a $60 game that you purchase for your fucking console. So it's nice, and it should never be that way, but the idea of having an Amiibo, it's nice, and I welcome it. It's like the same thing when you talk about stuff like virtual reality. Do you need it? Not really. And virtual reality, I've played games in VR. I have an Oculus headset, and it's interesting to play, but I'd never play a game using the Oculus unless games are built for the Oculus Rift. That's why, you'll mod up a current game with Oculus support, and then you'll play it and you'll be like, oh, that's nifty for like 10 minutes, and then you'll get out of it. For gimmicks to work, you have to have games being built around them, and this goes to developers too. It's the same reason why the Wii worked, but stuff like at least to me, the PlayStation Move and the Kinect didn't work. The Nintendo Wii started out with motion controls, and Nintendo built a very great repertoire of games for them. We're talking Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, we're talking Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I don't want to throw in Twilight Princess because that wasn't really a motion control game. It was just a GameCube title ported over to the Wii last minute to sell on that system, to sell the system really. But and stuff like Red Steel 2, stuff like that, you know, the games that are built for it, you know what I mean? Even like Manhunt 2 with its grotesque executions on the Wii, it works because that's what developers are designing for. You know, they're not just taking, you know, a shooter and just throwing it on there. That's why stuff like Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition works, because Capcom, you know, fucking worked their asses off trying to make a really nice control scheme for it. And that's why to this day, Resident Evil 4 is best played, at least to me, on the Nintendo Wii. Not the PC version that's Ultimate HD, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking the Wii version. I would pop that fucker in over any other copy of Resident Evil. Trust me on that one. But then you look at the bad side of Gimmicks, which is the, you know, let's just throw it out there, the fucking PlayStation Move and the Kinect. Now, for those of you who like it, you like it, right? But there weren't a lot of games that came out for it. It was just a cash-in scheme on a current play method. You know, you look at something like the Kinect, and what good games did the, you know, Kinect really have? And some of the games, all they had were like voice controls on them, so it's like, what the fuck? You know, you're not doing anything with them, so why would you throw it in there? But that's essentially the extent of a gimmick. You know, you look at stuff like virtual reality. There are games being built for virtual reality that are not supposed to be played whatsoever without them. Those are games that work. You know, and the point of Gimmicks is a lot of people don't like them is because sometimes, and most of the time, they're just hammered the fuck in. You're not supposed to have virtual reality if it's not supposed to be there. You know, putting virtual reality in Grand Theft Auto 4 and walking around Liberty City with the control scheme of keyboard mouse just confuses you, and it doesn't work. It's nifty to look at, but it doesn't work. You have stuff like motion controls, which are still happening in games today, trust me, don't fucking work, you know, half the time, because they're just shit thrown in there. You have like touchscreen elements being thrown in games these days, and most of the time it's pointless. I mean, a good example is PS4 with Killzone Shadowfall. All the touchscreen did was serve as like a second D-pad. All you did was swipe up, down, left, right. Yeah, it was kind of cool, but if you're not adding anything to the gameplay, why the fuck would you throw it in? You know, that's one of the things you have to look at. And it goes the same way for anything else, really. You know what I mean? Like, what does the Kinect 2.0 add to anything? Like even the gamepad, you know, unless you're playing like a Nintendo game, the gamepad doesn't add to anything. In fact, if anything, the gamepad just is there, right? Like, you're playing stuff like Assassin's Creed 3 and the gamepad isn't providing anything for you at all besides some map, which, what the fuck, I can press pause and look at it. It's not even like it's real-time updating for me anyways. But yeah, that's essentially stuff, you know, that's essentially what these gimmicks are all about. Some people hate them, some people like them, and I'm honestly conflicted on them. And when I look at Amiibos, and, you know, I'm going to order one, I'm going to try one out, and I'm going to see where it goes. But for me, I don't hate Amiibos, and I don't hate gimmicks in video games. I'm just saying, they have to be used properly, and what kills these gimmicks faster than anything is when developers don't give a shit. I'm serious, you know? Another gimmick that I'm mentioning is like companion apps, you know, on phones. They're not used properly, and they have a really good purpose, trust me. If you took the time and effort, developers, to just, you know, make the second screen on the Wii U worth it, such as showing database things in Assassin's Creed in real time, or utilizing proper information, and even doing things like Zombie U where you have to look down into a backpack to loot stuff out of. That's stuff we want, not just another map screen. Like, who the fuck is gonna buy a console and look down and look down like where their dick's supposed to be for a map? No. Alright? No. Okay, that's not gonna work. And that's why people hate a lot of gimmicks. Okay, that's why people stick to controllers and stuff. You know why nobody really complained about Skyward Sword? Because not only did it use that gimmick of motion controls, but it did it well. There's literally, you can play Skyward Sword with the controller, you can mod it on an emulator, but I swear you will never experience that game properly until you actually stand up and do the sword yourself. It is that epic, it is that good. And, you know, it goes on to these gimmicks and everything too. Are they necessary for gaming? Of course not. You don't need a gimmick for it. In fact, gaming is always, for the most part, going to be on controllers or keyboards or mouses. But things like, you know, Amiibos and these little toys that they're featuring with it, you know, it's not that, again, it's not that I hate them, it's just, I want to see, like, some real use being thrown in. And again, these also serve as a way to counteract against those gamers too, because one of the things that scare me about Amiibos is when I look at something like the new Nintendo 3DS, which has Amiibo support, I'm wondering maybe the next Pokemon game might just decide to throw you Amiibos. It's like, well, if you want this exclusive Pokemon, go out and buy a $10 Amiibo, and or like, you know, maybe they'll price it down to like $4.99 and get the special Pokemon at a GameStop. Boom, there you go, Amiibos, done, one-time use or some shit like that, or, you know, link to your NNID or whatever. But yeah, that's essentially what I look at with freaking Pokemon, and that isn't good, alright? I mean, I already told you how bad that bundle was last time. If this stuff takes off for the wrong reasons, shit like that could begin to happen. But at the same time, I also utilize the gameplay aspect of it too, because it does serve a decent purpose. You know, a lot of people told me the Smash was a lot of fun for them. It almost like for some people created a single player too, because they thought of their Amiibo as a single player character and just leveled it up and kicked other people's asses with it. But yeah, that's essentially my whole thoughts on the Amiibo and just gimmicks in general, guys. I mean, I've looked at a lot of VR stuff. I have some of these headsets. I have a lot of this stuff too, and, you know, sans Amiibos. And for the most part, it always led me doing the same thing I always do, gaming with tried and true methods instead of the gimmicks. And it also kills gimmicks for me too, because if I don't see them utilized properly, I'm not going to use them. There was potential for stuff like Kinect. There was potential for stuff like Move. There was even potential for stuff like the gamepad, but when it's not utilized and when you don't have proper usage for them, and you just alienate the person and make them say, well, this isn't going to work at all. So I guess my point is that last time people thought that I hated these things, and some people are into the gimmicks a lot more than I would ever be. And again, it's different. You know, each and every person has their own opinion. This is an opinion-based series. I don't state like my thing as fact. I'm not. You don't reference me as a fact, okay? This is all my opinion, you know, about what I think on Amiibos or gimmicks in general. But that's essentially it. So I want to ask you all in the comments below, because these are the heavily most commented videos out there for obvious reasons, I guess, because people have opinions and people like to share them, and I want to hear what your opinions are. I want to see, you know, where the sides are coming from. Do you love Amiibos and gimmicks? Do you hate Amiibos and gimmicks? I'm just sticking on Amiibos because they're sort of like the one figurine that stood out amongst them all. You know, you had your Skylanders and Disney Infinity, but Nintendo, as always, you know, just throws in their, you know, gauntlet or whatever, and there you go. It just puts it on the map. But that being said, I know I kind of went in multiple different directions, but I want to ask you all, what do you think about it? And usually, I know recently these rant times aren't really filled with me of rage. That's because I've also been taking my medication, and B, it's not really something to get raged over with Amiibos or little figurines. But I want to ask you all, I mean, it's not like, you know, they're selling $4.99 legendary exclusive Pokemon at GameStop or anything. When that happens, you'll see me get angry. But if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. This is me, Mudahar, and I am out.